I'm going to show you my exact process that one, gets me the Amazon Choice Badge, which I have on about 20% of my current selling listings, and two, the same process that got me to over 2 million in sales with 120,000 shirts sold on Amazon merch with only 1,500 designs. And yeah, I'm in tier 8,000, so it's not some spray and pray kind of MO here. And no, it's not just one or two hero listings doing all the work. And yes, I will show you all my numbers. Then we're going to start doing our research on Etsy as usual, because Amazon is way behind Etsy, and you will not, I promise you, you will not find ideas on Amazon to make regular bestsellers if that's where you're doing all your research. Then we're going to use erank to validate the demand in Etsy and in Amazon, because yes, if you did not know, you can do Amazon research in erank as well. Then we're going to design in Kittl, and their new pen tool is an absolute game changer. It allows you to finesse and tweak fonts literally any way you could ever want. So I'm super stoked for this one because it has been a while since I've done any merch content. But then we're also going to look at how we can squeeze every single penny out of our new killer design by way of Printify and Etsy, because if you have all your eggs in the Amazon merch basket, you could possibly be leaving yourself open for a world of hurt. Never a bad time to diversify, so let's get to it. Holy, that's a lot. Just stabbed myself on a shiny new rock that our blackbird friend has decided to leave us now. My wife has been leaving some kind of nuts or seeds on a little pillar outside, and they come and they take them, and who knew, they bring you gifts. You guys have any blackbird friends, crows or ravens out there that come and drop you gifts? Let me know. Interesting, right? Anyway, back to it. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Souza, and I have been selling by way of print on demand for about 13 years now. And print on demand is a sort of fulfillment system that allows you to sell stuff online without actually having any inventory. So you can focus on designing cool new products and let the fulfillment companies of the world print, package, and ship your order and get it gone to your customers, so you don't have to hold any inventory or do any of the hard stuff. You get to do all the fun stuff, which for me is all the design work. And this way of selling online has been what has allowed me to leave my toxic corporate workplace back in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, to live a life that is so much slower. The island motto here down here in Belize is literally go slow. If you haven't checked it out, look up Keycocker, Belize, and you'll see what I mean. It's a tiny little island. We walk everywhere. There's no cars on this island. You literally have to slow down. It's such a beautiful thing. But working online has allowed me to travel and live here remotely with our Great Dane. And for the last 8 years, I've kind of tried to make it my mission to help you get out of your crappy ruts wherever you're stuck in, so that you can enjoy more of what life has to offer and take advantage of what little time we all have left. Because newsflash, time's the only thing running out, and there's so much more we should be doing with every minute of it. So let's jump in. All right, so as promised, I just want you guys to see that I have 1,663 designs. I've actually uploaded just over 60 of these, I think 65 this year in 2025. So no, it's not a lot by all standards, but it's a lot for me in the first half of the year. I never list more than like 3 or 4 a month. Sometimes I go months without, and it's been about a month since I think I've uploaded the last design I did. So anyway, and today you can see we're at 38 sales, about $70. And unfortunately, these royalties have been taking a massive hit because everything has been put on sale for me, and it kind of sucks that way. So I'm only making about $2 or less a royalty here, which kind of sucks. Thankfully, I had all my stuff priced at around the $18 marker and not much lower, in the beginning, 18, 19, and 20. But I pity those of you who had, your listings down at 14 or 50 to try to get ranked, because now you're making $0. Anyway, looking at yesterday's sales, for example, I have not one or two that are, the unicorn listings that are the hero listings, right? I've got one doing 15 out of 95. That is by no means the majority here, right? So 15, one is doing 10, one is doing 9, 8, 5, 4, 3, and a bunch doing 3 2s, and then of course we got a bunch doing 1s. I'm just going to click on these, command click and open tabs, and then we're going to go by process of elimination and count how many have Amazon's Choice badges. All right, so I'll start at the end here and then we'll count backwards, right? So Amazon's Choice badge, first one. Second one, Amazon's Choice badge. No Amazon's Choice badge on this one, but 100 bought in the past month. Amazon's Choice badge, that's 3. 100 bought in the past month, no badge. 50 bought in the last month, 50 bought in the last month. No news there, nothing there. Amazon badge number 4. Amazon badge number 5. Nothing there, nope. 50 bought in the past month, nothing there, nothing there. That's number 6, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong if you've been counting. Number 7, 100 bought in the last month, but no Amazon's choice. Nothing there, and nothing there. So 7 out of 31 unique products sold. Let's just do some quick math here. 7 divided by 31 unique products, 22.58. So almost 23%. That's almost 1 in 4 of my current selling listings have Amazon's choice sellers badges. And that's not including all the other listings that you just saw that we're doing 50 to 100 sales a month, right? So again, we're not talking, like these unicorn listings that are just 1 or 2 that kind of blow up, right? I'm just going to go in here and I'll just click analyze listings now so you can see everything so that you know that it's downloading and refreshing right now. So all-time sales looks like I got on here back at the end of 2017, but you can see I didn't really do anything. People that say that Amazon is dead, look at this graph. This is exactly what slow and steady evergreen growth looks like. A lot of my listings that are selling 50 plus a month have been around for like a few years, and a lot of my Amazon's choice badges have also been around for a couple of years, but most of them, 4 out of the 7 we saw today, were listed in the last year. And if anything was going to tell you that Amazon is not dead, it would be this graph here, right? When people say that Amazon is dead and woe is this and woe is that and woe is me, it's because you're taking too close of a snapshot, right? You're kind of too emotionally tied to this. If you zoom out, look at this graph overall, that is what you want to look at. That is what you want to see year over year, right? People go crazy when they have a bad month or even a bad week sometimes. And if you have 3 bad days in a row, people are in the groups complaining all the time. They're on all the socials going on like something's wrong, Amazon is dead. But you know what? Big businesses, not only terrible days, weeks, or months, they have bad quarters and they have bad years and they don't quit. They just keep going, right? They learn from it and move on. Change, pivot if you need to, but continue with your evergreen portfolio and you will win in time, I promise you. Total sales are 120,000. I'm almost at 450,000 in royalties, which I will definitely hit in the next month. Like by mid-June, I should be there. Maybe hopefully sooner than later if some of my listings come off of being on sale. But you can see my average here, it was over 4.25 up until a little while ago. But things are coming down here. So we're down to $395 royalty per sale here. And you can see that I've done $2,220,000 in revenue as far as t-shirts go over these 120,000 shirts sold. And yes, 99% of my stuff is in the US market. I only list in the USA and I let Amazon push to whatever markets they think my stuff should be shown. You'll see down here, I've got 119 out of those 120,000, literally 99% in the States. And the average monthly sales from day 1 is 1317, with record day being 1577, my record month being December. So back-to-back Decembers, I hit over 18,000. Today, you can see too, I got 3, 6, 2, 2, 2, 1, 3, 2, 2, 2, 3. This is what having a diversified evergreen portfolio looks like. After one of the calls in my Inner Circle membership here, where you can see we have, design training, niche research, hot seat design reviews. So I'll actually go in and pull your design apart that you've submitted, help you reconstruct something that will sell. One of the things that came up was like whether or not somebody should pursue going with a particular niche that they were selling in. They said that there was low search volume and didn't feel like there was anything, enough data there to validate some sales, right? So I dived into it on Etsy here and all I searched for was guitar dad shirt just to see what would come up because we were looking at Father's Day coming up and this guy was selling in, predominantly a music space, right? So the first 3 that came up that I thought would be, perfect examples of what not to do, the first 2 actually, was this one here. This looks like your typical Amazon merch shirt. This looks like somebody who had designed on Amazon merch and then tried to pull it over to Etsy. Not gonna work. Etsy is ahead of Amazon from a stylistic perspective. What you see on Amazon typically isn't going to be selling on Etsy, and what you find on Etsy that is actually selling, you might be able to squeeze another 2 or 3 years out of it if you move it to Amazon. So this is why I always do my research for merch by Amazon on Etsy. So this is one of 3 that I pulled up because I thought they were super relevant to show exactly what I'm talking about. So you need to target an ideal customer, right? So we'll look at this one and you're like, who is this targeting? So this, I think the chords are D, A, and D so that it's best dad ever from a musical perspective. I think if you're a gritty guitarist, like if we look at this design here, it's gritty, it looks a little grungy, cool looking design, But look at this mock-up that they have it on, right? It's on a guy who looks so wholesome that I don't think it speaks to like the grit that you would see from a, you know, an acoustic guitar player, maybe at a festival or something like that effect, right? Plus the colors here just don't make sense, right? Like why would you have a red, yellow, and blue and like all those overdone retro sunset colors? Can we please just let those go? I haven't made a retro sunset design in a few years now. So for the love of all that is holy, can we please just stop making those? Anyway, the next one, you know, same idea. Tried to pull the same kind of retro colors. Best dad ever. They got an electric guitar head here, it looks like. Gritty design. It's on a dark heather. Cool. But it's bright colors. Like anybody who's into electric guitar, probably not going to be into the vibrant colors. They're probably going to be more likely to buy something if it's white on black. The next one we pulled up was this one. It showed up in the search results for the same tags. It's not hoarding if it's guitars. Look at this. It's got a bestseller. Coming over here to the Evergreen Chrome extension, just clicking on it, it populates in the same window, so you don't even have to go anywhere. But look at this. So it's got estimated 523 sales. It's made, you know, 9,000 plus in revenue. Conversion rate is solid at 2.27, and it's got over 1,200 favorites. It's currently in 15 carts. Got the bestseller badge, right? So if we look at the tags here, again, right in Etsy, I don't have to leave and go anywhere. You've got some heavy competition ones here, like music shirt, gift for husband, gift for boyfriend, hoarding guitars. What's another big one here? Men's shirts. I don't know if I would use that one. It's just too generic. Men's gifts, probably not. I would put like men's guitar gifts, something to that effect, right? Something that people would actually type in the search bar. Guitar dad tee, absolutely. But people are like, oh, almost no search volume and no competition. That doesn't matter if you're attracting the right people with the right design. This to me looks like something that somebody who plays rock and roll for a living, or metal or hard rock, you know, something typically plugged in on stage, something that they would probably wear to a show, right? Or maybe even you'd see a guitarist on stage wearing this, right? And that's what everybody wants to emulate. They want that emotion of having been a rock star, or just, you know, showing their passion. That's what people love to do as humans. We are emotionally driven, and this is the kind of thing that hits a nail on the head, right? The ideal customer here, for example, would probably be somebody between, you know, the ages of 35 and 50, because A, they have enough money to hoard guitars so they can afford a few of them, and electric, they're not cheap, and B, they wouldn't necessarily be older than 50 or 55 because they're still into what looks like heavier metal. Some guys will slow down as they age, right? You know, the neck gets a little more stiff when you're trying to headbang to something when you're a little bit older, right? And it's not hoarding if it's guitars. Look at the details here, right? It's a very simple design, relatively speaking, kind of clip art guitars, but it's just done in a way that is a little bit more organic. They're not just stacked perfectly vertical. Mostly text here, the way it's laid out, it's not hoarding. And then you've got the guitar element here if it's guitars. And then the kind of detail here, they got a guitar pick for the last A, and they put a music note in here. These are the little touches that would get the person buying the gift. So most of the shoppers on Etsy are women, and typically they're buying gifts for other people. Etsy is known as the gift buying spot. So this is the kind of thing that kind of tugs at the buyer's heartstring too. Now they're thinking, yeah, this is great. This is the perfect gift for somebody that I know and love, and who would probably appreciate as well. And it doesn't look as straight edge as something like this, or as wholesome necessarily as these kinds of designs, right? You wouldn't wear this to a heavy metal show. You wouldn't wear this to a hard rock show. It just doesn't look the part. You might wear this to, I don't know, songs in a park kind of thing, right? But if you're trying to go after somebody and stand out, this is how you do it. You've got a humor element here, because that person buying that guitar is for somebody they know already has a lot of guitars, right? It's that kind of thing. So that ideal customer is absolutely nailed. The other nice thing about this is if I just come here and then click on this now, we can open this in erank, and we've got our listing metrics here. So you can see the first part of stuff that shows up in search results on Etsy is highlighted here. And this is exactly how you need to position your titles in Etsy and in Amazon merch. So pay attention here. Men's hoarding guitars, funny t-shirt. That tells you exactly what it is, who it's for, and, you know, potentially the occasion, right? So it's for obviously guitar playing men going to a show or something to that effect, right? Obviously on Amazon, you're not going to be putting in t-shirt in there because they add it to the end, but you could also have guitar player in there that would show at the start, and funny musician tee you could put in your Amazon title, right? That would be it. That would be the perfect title for this, because you need to have hoarding guitars in there. Otherwise, how are people going to find it, right? I see people keyword stuffing all the time on Amazon merch just to get the high kind of search volume keywords, but on Etsy, they don't use enough of the high volume keywords, right? So now how can we take something like this and turn it into a potential bestseller over on Amazon merch, right? Ideally, we're going to squeeze a couple pennies out of this on Etsy as well, but we're going to try to make a design that's going to hit and get some decent sales, right? At least 50 a month, right? That should be the minimum goal, is at least 1.5 sales a day kind of thing. So just pulling this up here, looking at this, what's something that, is current that we could add to this, right? This is how you think. And then right away, I was excited about this because we've been watching Toronto Maple Leafs in the playoffs, and tonight is actually Game 7. It's Sunday, May 18th, in case you guys want to know. But we are heading into Game 7 facing the Florida Panthers tonight. So hockey's been on my mind for the first time in a while because, if you're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, it's been hard to watch any of them get to the second round. So here we are, and all I'm thinking is that every hockey player I've ever known has had a bunch of hockey sticks. So it could easily be it's not hoarding if it's hockey sticks. So then I went right back. I pulled up the search results here. So I just pulled up hockey shirt now on this tab. Drop down here, by default, it's on Etsy. You can search keywords in erank for Amazon. Not only that, but they got, Kindle, you got Barnes & Noble, you got eBay, Facebook Marketplace, Google Shopping, Pinterest, Shein, all the other ones too. Teachers Pay Teachers, TikTok, Walmart, you name it, they got it in here now. But we're not using some other tool that will show us bestseller rankings or anything like that, because none of that matters when you're trying to make something new, especially if you're first to market with it, right? And that is the goal. So if you're first to market with something, you're not ripping off somebody else or trying to make a spin on what's already selling out there. You're creating something new. So ultimately, there's no other shirts out there with any kind of bestseller rank. So first, we're going to start with what we see here, and then we'll actually look at Amazon and see if there's any already selling out there, right? So average searches right now, 147. It's in the red because that's a monthly search volume. That might seem super low, but it's also, kind of funny here, but this is what's known as hockey sticking, right? So it went from, these average searches here. So we had 60 in February, it dipped and then it went up. And hockey sticking is when something goes and then skyrockets on the end, sort of like a hockey stick blade shoots up, right? It already feels like it's almost meant to be here, right? You can see that the bulk of the searches here now are from the United States, so 26.8, and we can come down here and see some actual metrics. You can also include specific keywords or exclude some keywords here. Hockey shirt is literally the only thing I typed in at the top, but it also gives you related keywords that you could potentially see some search volume for. So hockey shirt here, looks like the average search is only 147, but that's okay. Average clicks are 83. So average click-through rate is 56%, which means, some people are clicking on 1 out of every 2 searches. To me, that's pretty good numbers here, right? And you can see here as we go through, it tells you what month we're looking at here. So April, the end of April, this kind of spiked here because, it's playoff hockey time, right? And Father's Day is around the corner, so it kind of makes sense, right? And then you got February here, it dipped for hockey shirts, plural, kind of the same keyword here, but either way, the average click-through rate on hockey shirts, plural, 100% click-through rate. So for every search that's going through, somebody is clicking on a result, right? And then we've got shirt, obviously, but dad shirt here is popping off because obviously we're right around the corner from Father's Day. We're about a month out. And of course, Canada shirt, sports shirt, hockey has been synonymous with Canada for a while. And yeah, goalie shirt is a good one. So maybe we could do something with goalies as well. We got hockey mom shirt. You've got Panthers hockey shirt. Definitely don't want to be doing this one. Retro hockey shirt would work. So I'm just getting designs for keywords here. I'm paying attention to some of the search volume, but this design, if it was hockey sticks, it's definitely a retro hockey shirt, right? So I think that would make sense. And we got pages here too, by the way. We can also now go by search volume here and see what is coming up. So a lot of generic stuff here, but hockey alone has a ton of search volume. Pretty good click-through rate. Retro again. So if you put the pieces together, right? Retro hockey shirt. Look at this, the click-through rate here. So, those are the kinds of things that would probably work. Gift for dad, retro hockey shirt for dad, right? That's the kind of, long tail keyword we're going to aim for here. Hockey jersey, personalized. Those are the words like retro hockey gift for dad or retro hockey shirt for dad is the kind of thing that we're going to, try to reel in with the massive search volume. But then we're going to get more specific by using the words hoarding in there, right? So that people actually know what to look for when they come back for it. Because if we did a hockey one now, and it said it's not hoarding if it's hockey sticks, you saw this, how would you define this shirt if you were coming back to look for it later? You would probably search for hoarding guitar shirt, right, in this case. So if hoarding isn't part of it, how would you know to find this shirt if it wasn't in your SEO and people trying to search for it, right? You would have to put the word hoarding in there. That's the whole point of this shirt, right? So just listing it funny guitar shirt or funny dad's musician's shirt, way too generic. They're good to get people in, but then people, when they search, are funny shirt for dad, and then they might narrow it down to funny guitar shirt, and then it's funny guitar shirt for dad, and then they see this pop up. Now it's funny hoarding guitar shirt for dad. See how specific that is now? But I just wanted you to see what you can do with this, and this is just, I just searched one keyword and I got all this data immediately, right? So again, you can search all the different marketplaces you could ever want to right here as far as POD goes anyway, and they even have Pinterest and Google, right, which is absolutely huge. So if you wanted to try erank, I do have a link down below to get you a really sweet deal of 30 days free of their expert or pro plan, but they also have a free tier and a really cheap one at I think $5.99 or something a month, so it's kind of like a no-brainer here. But let's get to the good stuff. Let's get to the design. So we're going to jump into Kittl here, and I always go to print on demand here, click on merch by Amazon because, you know, it's the appropriate size, and we always want to fill our artboard on Amazon merch because people are scrolling and you need to interrupt their feed and jump out at them among thousands and thousands potentially of copycat listings, because don't forget we're setting a new bar here. So I would click on this and click create, and then I'm just going to come over here, right click on this to copy image. I'm just going to bring this in here just for a point of reference so you can see it kind of loading across the top here. Element uploaded. I'm just going to pull it over here. So the first thing we need here is a bunch of hockey sticks, right? So we can go to image generator, and by default it's on ideogram, but we can try illustration of a pile of ice hockey sticks, and let's just see what happens. Okay, I don't like this, so we're gonna go back. Let's try coloring book maybe, because I just kind of want to have, you know, some kind of clip art style. Generate image, and this looks more like a field hockey stick and some kind of fire hose stack here, so this isn't what we're looking for at all. I'm just going to play around with this and we'll see what we end up with. All right, so here we are now. I just want to show you, we had a bunch of results here. So this one was looking promising with the, if I just go back and show you, we had the vector art here, so it makes it a vector, which is kind of cool that you can see the backgrounds through, but we had some weird shapes here, and I wanted to, you know, kind of have something unique that wasn't overlapping everything, so in case I wanted to shape them all. This came very close, so I'm just holding command and scrolling up here so I can just zoom in. This looks really cool, but we have some double-ended hockey sticks, right? It's just the nature of AI. It's never always awesome, but you got a couple of ideas here that work. There's a few here that could work if we cut them out. But that said, I just ended up going back to photo cutout and many different ice hockey sticks in a pile. This one was vintage illustration under DALL-E 3. Just wanted to leave that there because in case any of you wanted to check that out, it's pretty cool. This one was kind of interesting, but definitely not all looking like hockey sticks. I like that it got the tape and it got some like dirty tape, like as if it was, you know, a used stick. There's a couple here that we could definitely pull out of this that actually look like hockey sticks somewhat, but there's some that look more like a golf club that got smushed by a train or something. So interesting enough, but not what I was looking for. This again is very much in line with these shirts that we don't want to use, right? We want something that's going to look like this, right? So I have that over here for reference. I started now going with photo cutout, and just to show you, I'll just generate another one again here. Many different hockey sticks in a pile. Initially I had several, and that gave me this, 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 and this. And then as soon as I said many, I ended up with this guy. I think that's kind of where we want to go. So I'm just going to generate one more so you can see what I'm saying while I clean up this stuff. All right, so we've got a pile of hockey sticks here. I think that looks pretty cool. So let's take our newest version here. At least you could see me generate that on the fly. Take this over here. I'll just blow you up. With Kittl now, you can just come over here and remove background, and Kittl has probably got the best background remover, or at least one of that I've ever tried. So just gonna click this right here. Look at that, magic, right? Took seconds and it looks so clean. It's even got the tape on these, which looks great. And I just wanna show you what it looks like here. So if I was to, for example, add an element in behind, like a shape, you can just right click on it or click on the three options here. I always just right click, and you want to send to back, you just click on this and now you can see showing through. So I'm just going to make this color a little lighter so you can see what I'm talking about. So you can, if I change the background color here, the shirt would show through, right? So that looks pretty sweet. In our case, we're going to be doing it on black, but I don't want to, lose the hockey sticks here. So what we're going to do is I always design, and this is part of the recipe here, always design on the color it's intended for. So don't create something on a white background if you're going to put it on a black shirt. Create it on a black background. So just so we don't move this, I can come over here and lock it. Just scrolling down here to lock. Now, if I go to highlight anything, or if I go to click anywhere, I'm not going to end up grabbing the background as well. We are now going to vectorize, and I'm going to try with 2 colors here to keep it black and white, and we'll see what happens. If not, we'll just, Command Z to undo and try again. So kind of got the right idea here. Just want to see what we're looking at here. So maybe we can, and we will try vectorize, and let's try 1 color. And if we were to make this white, for example, how does that look? That definitely looks like hockey sticks, but maybe it's just too many. You know what? Maybe we need to generate 1 more. Let's try several, because I don't know if it'll show up a little better if we have a few less. Now let's remove background. So let's go with 2 colors, vectorize, and see what we get here. I think that looks cool. We just need to expand our border weight here. We'll make the border white. So now you can actually see the lines. So if I took Command Z here and you don't see anything here, now Shift Command Z actually redoes it. So now I'll just come down here and I'll increase the border weight here. So now it's obvious that it's a pile of hockey sticks. And let's see which one works better here. If I did the same thing here, make the border white and increase. Looks cool, but I think it's just too much of a jumble. I think this speaks a little more to our target audience. It's obvious because you still have the lines here. Maybe I'll make the border a little less. And these are the nuances that are going to make or break a sale, right? So that looks about right. And then we got to add our text here. And the reason why I'm not asking AI to generate the text is because no matter how good AI gets, it's always going to be missing the emotional bit, at least for the foreseeable future. Probably going to regret saying that now because, 6 months from now, who knows, they might have an emotional quotient in there too. But assuming they don't have the EQ element and only the IQ element, they miss the emotional elements that we can evoke with typography. And they're also creating something that is based on actual humans who have created things out there in the world, right? That's how all these models were trained, right? It was on actual human commands and actual human output and art, right? So at the end of the day, if you have any inclination on how to create a design that will sell and resonate emotionally, and on that note, I got to take a second just to plug my Inner Circle membership here. We're opening mid-June. We're currently closed, but we're opening, mid to maybe 3rd week of June, I believe. So you can get on the wait list here. And what is it and who it's for, right? Just like my Etsy titles and Amazon merch titles, exactly what it is. It is for the aspiring or existing Etsy seller who needs to elevate their designs, boost sales, and stand out in the marketplace, and the Amazon merch seller looking to improve their product designs to attract more customers and increase profits. Who is it not for? It's not for you if you aren't willing to stop listening to everybody on YouTube, right? You got to stay in your lane and stick to it for a year. Otherwise, you're going to end up in the same spot, spinning your wheels a year from now. No real progress. I'll let you read all the rest down here, but you can come see some metrics. You can get a clue to all, you can get some inclination as to what it's all about. We got a Etsy treasure map here, 7-stage. The Amazon merch one is currently 3-stage. It's literally a map of how to do the things correctly that I'm going over in this video ultimately. It's 3 stages. We're adding a 4th stage. I have to obviously update this stuff because you guys know I've sold 10,000 more shirts and I'm, closer to 450,000 in royalties here. But we also have monthly trend reports included in here, and another massive plus is the live co-working calls. So you can just plug into a call. You can have audio only, video only, or you can have both turned off and just listen. It's kind of like having a co-working space where you would, be in your cubicle. Sometimes we just miss that human element ultimately, right? So it's just nice to bounce ideas, talk about your day. It's not always about strategy and lessons and planning and all that stuff. You can just talk to people like real humans, right? Get ideas about your stuff, all of that. But above and beyond everything else, we've got a ton of other stuff here, but the most important part really, I think, is checking out what the members have to say, right? And you can just scroll here for days and read all the success stories, but I do have to shout out Tara Wells down here because somebody in my free Facebook group asked, if you're making 10K or more in revenue each month, how many niches are in your shop, right? And for me, it's 1 or 2 at most. As you guys know, I think that's the key to long-term success. Tara, in this case, says she doesn't do niches. She focuses on evergreen gifts. Obviously, Etsy's a great place for that. One thing she says is that she focuses on consistent design style, consistent colors, consistent fonts for a cohesive shop. I feel like I've been screaming this till I'm blue in the face, but people are still spreading themselves super thin in all these general stores with 100 million different listings doing all kinds of crazy stuff. The reason behind this is because it encourages repeat clients and multiple sales per order. Her shop is 1 year and 10 months old. She's been doing 12 to 15K a month in revenue this year so far with an $82,000 past Q4. Huge, right? And this alone is a treasure trove of gold nuggets, so pay attention here. Tara here says, no, absolutely follows trends and see if they fit her style, right? We're not just throwing crap at the wall. It has to fit your design style. It has to fit your brand's cohesion. You wouldn't throw these retro kind of looking dad shirts in something that is all basically coquette or chinoiserie, right? It just doesn't make sense. It's a completely different vibe. Next great question was, do you spend a lot of time redoing SEO if you're not niche specific? I always say no, because it's the design that matters more than SEO. Tara to that effect says, very rarely do I change my keywords or title. I only revisit the tags and title if it's sat for 6+ months with little to no favorites or purchases. Typically, she finds she gets traction on new listings in a few weeks to a month if people like it and find value. That's it. That's the key right there, right? Like if it's not selling in 30 days to 60 days to maybe 90 because, give Etsy a chance to kind of rank your listing, then there's something wrong with it, right? It's not hitting. And the next question is the key here. Does this mean you take a scalable phrase like world's best and then insert word and do it for 50 different inserted words, like world's best mom, baker, sister, teacher, all the exact same design, like those stupid retro sunsets, right? Use the same mockup and swap the SEO, blah, blah, blah. She says, personally, I don't go with that approach. It's too generic. I only have 205 listings and I add one new one a week. This is what I'm talking about. Put all your eggs in the research basket of your process and design something that makes sense and resonates with your ideal customer. I said congrats, of course, on nailing this with only 200-ish listings, and it blows my mind when people say that you need 1,000 to 2,000 plus listings to make real money. It's just not true. She said, thanks. Tara was in my membership and got kind of called away because of work kind of requirements, so it didn't make sense for her at the time. But she says once her initiatives are launched, she hopes to rejoin. You have the best people, and I appreciate your straightforward approach to all things design and POD. As you guys know, I'm a no fluff, no BS kind of guy that way. We just have to put our egos aside and tear that band-aid off more often than not. And she says, by the way, it was your shop review that helped me really focus on getting rid of things that didn't match my shop style. You definitely played a part in helping me focus, and I'm seeing 60% increase in revenue this year. Imagine she had an 82K Q4. 60% coming up, if that carries over, will be 120,000 Q4 potentially, which is what, 40K plus every single month in revenue. That is monstrous numbers. So congratulations, Tara. Thank you for the love and hope to see you back. But anyway, back to the design here. So let's go with, now I'm just going to click on text. And then we can explore this pen tool they have, which is pretty freaking cool. Go headline here. I think this is already looking pretty cool, but we also want to, use a potentially slightly off-white here to look at the vintage kind of element here. See how this isn't exactly white? And we're gonna wanna grid it up and use a font that makes sense here, right? Let's start looking at fonts here that'll work for our design. This could really work because it pulls this in much smaller, which means I can now make it bigger. That looks cool. I really do like that font on this though. See how it's kind of got this organic element, looks a little vintagey. We could definitely add some distressing to this. We're gonna use the exact same font for these ones. Again, this is not rocket science. We're using one font, one color. Right, that's it. Don't have to get too crazy with this stuff. I'm just gonna right click on this and bring to front. So now I can put an outline on it so it sticks out. And the nice thing you can do here now is, for example, come down here and click outline text. So it's Shift Command O. It's the same keyboard shortcuts as in Adobe Illustrator, which is absolutely amazing because it's so intuitive now. I actually figured this one out by accident because out of habit, I just did it because I've been a lifelong Adobe Illustrator user. It's built into Kittl now. This is super huge. Thank you so much, Kittl, for making these intuitive changes. As somebody who's been designing and manipulating text most of my adult life, I am super grateful. That said, Shift Command O for outline. You can see now that it's turned this into an image here, right? So the only thing we can't do here is that we cannot any longer go in and edit this, right? So the first thing you would want to do anytime you're going to do something like outline to text is obviously hold Option, click and drag, and we'll just make you, black or something so that we can see you up here. That way you always have the editable text if you need it. I'll just come back down here, Shift Command O, and we are good. We can make you a little bit wider because look at this, right? We've got this bottom line is as wide visually as the meat and potatoes of this design. So yes, this head of this neck here squeaks to the right a little bit, but it's more in line with the fat part of the guitar, right? It looks just right visually. We're going to try to do the same thing here. So ultimately, we've got a couple of lines here. The nice thing they added recently too was these rulers. So you can just come on the edge of the design here and just drag this over. So if we have our element here, down here, we can outline, or we can line it up with the edge of our design here. So now you can see these tiny red lines here that when I hover over, you can see where they are. That makes it easy for us now to kind of visually line up everything here. So I'll just go with the left here, and it looks like we're good on the right. And because I brought this to front now, oh, I forgot we have to change the outline here, right? The border weight, we got to make it the right color. I can kind of see a hint of white there. And then we'll come here, and now we can add a border in black to this. So now you can increase that. And I don't like that we're losing some of that, so I'm just going to select these guys, move it up a bit. We want to make sure that this is still obviously hockey sticks, right? So that looks pretty sweet as is. I'm just going to pull this up here and bring you over here. We're going to come in on this a little bit here. I think that's going to look pretty sweet. We're going to move to front. We're going to Shift Command O on if it's as well, add a border so that it stands out, right? Because if we didn't add the border, you can see how it kind of gets lost here. We just created a border, so it's got this thin line. But if we Command Z again, there's no border. Now we just added the border. But if we really want to shake things up, we can, scroll this over and add a thick border that now helps you digest this at a glance, right? Remember, we're scrolling through endless amounts of listings here. We definitely want to make sure that our customers see this immediately. This hairline of white is bothering me, so we're just going to go a little thicker here. And I think that looks great. So let's look now at this. So 50.6. Let's do the same thing here. We want to keep consistent and be intentional with everything we do. So it's not hoarding if it's hockey sticks. Now we're just going to grab all of this and come over here to alignment so we can just center everything, and it centers absolutely everything in the middle of the artboard. So what I want to show you here is this awesome pen tool. So you can now just come over here and double click on something, and now you can edit it. So I'll zoom in here so you can see what I'm talking about. You click on this and double click on this, and now you can edit these points. So we can change this line here now and drag these in so that they look more like a hockey stick, right? We're just going to come up here, and anything that's blue, if it's in the way and you don't like it, you can just hit delete on it now and it deletes it. In case you didn't see that, I'm just going to zoom in here. If this point, for example, we're kind of in a straight line here, and then there's one point that's totally doesn't make sense, it's kind of out of the way, you don't have to move it up and worry about it. You can just highlight it so that it shows blue, just hit delete. So now we can also delete a few here to keep it more kind of in our same little area here. I can highlight a bunch of these, for example, and then click delete. And now we've just straightened out our design by a lot. So this looks a little bit better. I'm probably going to do these two here. Just get rid of these guys. Get rid of you two. And you can just kind of highlight these and get rid of them, right? So looking at something like this now, and then we can always just come down here and delete a few of these, delete a few of these here. And you might be saying, like, now we don't want this hard edge here, right? Because we kind of want to keep it looking, a little more rounded, a little more vintage. All you have to do is click on any of these dots, double click them, and now you've got these handles just like you would have in Illustrator, right? So we can kind of drag this down here. We can pull this guy out a bit, and you can just click on each point, double click, and now you can play around with these. Look at this. We've just added a curve to this. So if I want this curve a little rounded here, I can just drag this guy up, and you can see how it makes that curve kind of flow. Super nice, right? We can actually just delete that guy because we don't need him. And we can come down here, double click on this guy now, and bring that out a little bit, right? So now it looks so much more straight, like it should have, right? And then you can just click off it. And it's still a little too sticky outy. So that's what we're looking at there. I'm just going to get rid of the border here so that we can see what we're working with. We can drag these guys and same idea, pull them in. I'm not gonna bore you with this, so I'll just fast forward through all of that. And I would come over here and do the same over here. Again, I'll fast forward through this part. And now the nice thing with this pen tool is, yes, we have editable font, right? And now we can even do the same thing here. So I'm just gonna click on this and convert to outlines. And let's say we wanted to make this now a hockey stick. We can do something fun like this. We can curve it. I'm just gonna Command C, click off it, and Command V to paste. And now you can see we've got a second one. So now I'm just going to shorten this up a bit, turn it a little, make you a little smaller, move you up here. So now we have a hockey stick. Looks like it's about the right length. Double clicking so I can edit a little more. That looks like the right angle of a hockey stick. Just gonna come down here, double click again. And once we're, same idea here on the outline, I can just double click on there, zoom out a little. We can just do what we need to do here and pull this out a little. So we want to have the same kind of width, right? Maybe something like that. Get you out here. We're going to pull this guy down to here or so, right? And then we're going to double click on here to get our little handles, and we're pulling this curve out now so that it matches. See what I'm doing there? I'm just pulling this out. So we've got two separate pieces here that we're working with, right? I'll just make this guy a little bit of a different color so you can see. So I'm slowly going to pull this guy out to fit this, which looks like it'll be a hockey stick now, right? So we just come down here, double click again, highlight our piece, double click one more time here. And as I said, we don't need all of these, right? So you can just come here, delete, 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 delete. And if you wanted to add another one, you could just click anywhere on the line. And now you've added a new one, right? So you don't have to worry about deleting too many pen points. I know our blade of our hockey sticks kind of curved a little bit. So I'll just do this until it looks kind of natural. Probably just delete you, pull you back out again, bring you up this way. I think that's starting to take shape. This has a bit of a curve here. We want this guy here, this guy here. We can probably delete a bunch of these as well and curve it a little bit here because it has to follow the shape of a hockey stick, right? So now I'm just double clicking again, pull you out so you can see exactly what I'm doing. We kind of want to reduce the wonk here. So I'll just angle these out a little bit and angle that out a little bit. And this looks too hard. I want to select all of these on the right, but the easiest way to do that is to straighten it out, then double click it, because now I can just come and select all of these. And then I can use the arrow keys here and incrementally do it, or I can hold shift and move them in a big way. And I think that actually looks a little bit better. So now double click again, bring you over here. And now that you see what I'm talking about here, you can tell that this is a hockey stick here, right? So I still feel, I'm just gonna Command Z here because I still feel like it's a little too thick. So I'm just gonna select these guys again. I think that's a little bit better. Double click to select individually here. So that looks a little bit better. I'm going to zoom in here and then we're just going to double click on this guy so we can edit you. And I can just delete these guys. We don't really need them. And then we can just pull this guy up to here, right? So now we've got the shape of a hockey stick. Look at that. I'm just going to come over here and select the correct color. And that, my friends, is pretty sweet. I think I want to angle it a bit more. And you know what? Looking at this, probably could have just done this, deleted you, and used this guy, right? We'll just move you over here. We'll just use the E to make sure we got the, the right kind of height. And then we can come over here. I'll just flip horizontal here, make it double bladed. So now we got two hockey sticks. And actually, after playing around with it, I think I like the hockey sticks as Y's over here. So I'm just going to delete that, move you over here. And for some reason, this S feels way too fat. So you can just double click this, just select all of these and delete them. You can select this guy and delete him as well. And we can select this guy and move him in a bit. Look Look how nice this is. Delete that guy, move him in a bit. And then we just got to make our curve match right here. And we just double click on that and pull this arm down. Look at that curve, just right. See, this is the stuff that you can't do when it's straight AI. So being able to understand how to manipulate text is a beautiful thing, right? So we zoom out now to make sure we're visually got the same amount of spacing here, because again, everything needs to be intentional. I will select you and we're going to come within this red line here so that we are all centered here. Now I want to see what it looks like if we actually stack this so hockey sticks is bigger. So let's make all of this a little smaller, move you up, and I'm just double clicking to get into the individual item until it's the only thing selected. And then I can just delete. So now let's do these guys. We'll align them. Now we can make you much bigger and maybe you even bigger. We hold Shift, we can now just kind of shorten this stuff. So when the type is outlined, I can just hold Shift and kind of shorten it up a bit and kind of do what I want with it here, which is super nice. Hoarding goes like that. Undo that, and we're all gonna do this uniform. So I want it all to be kind of the same. So now we can just kind of do this. I think that looks a little bit better. I can align left here and see how it looks. And the other thing, this actually looks like how it would when stored in bins or buckets of sticks. So let's make a bucket. This is a good tool to use here. We'll just make this so we can see, so you guys can see what I'm doing here. I'm gonna come here, we're gonna make you curve this a little bit. Actually, we don't even need to do that. We can just take this guy. We're gonna make our bucket. For these hockey sticks to be leaning, they got to be leaning on the edge here, right? So I can just double click here. So we want to bring this in until they are kind of leaning on that. Can that work? Make you the same here. So it would be something like that, and then we can put an ellipse here to make it look like the interior of the bucket, exactly what you're going to see there. And then I should be able to bring these to the front. And then all I should have to do, I'm just gonna make this red so I can see. That to me looks like a bucket of sticks, right? So we're just gonna hang you down here. I like how this stick is over top here. I just wanna make sure that we're aligned with the bottom here. That looks pretty cool. And we can just take this guy, put you on here, make you much smaller. Fit end to end here, and we can just double click on this, kind of drag it where you want it, so we can have one kind of here, tweak it a little, just make sure it's fully black in our design, and then we can hold Option and just drag a couple more, right? So, you know, some barrels have like a double barrel kind of ridge or something along it, and that's pretty much it. So it's not hoarding if it's hockey sticks. The only other thing we got to do now is, again, Command G, or you can come down here to group. So we want to make sure we group everything. Because our artboard is set to the perfect Amazon merch size, we definitely want to blow it up to that. So now you can always come here and, you know, download and go through your rigmarole here, remove background, optimize quality, all that stuff. But what you can do here that is super simple now, I'll just select everything on my artboard now. You can come here and click group or Command G, and then I'm just gonna quick export. It's always at 1 by default, but then I'll come down here and hit 3 and then just click export. You'll see it come down here. I'll open this, and now if I drag and drop this in here just so you can see what I'm looking at, it's uploading. I'm gonna move this out of the way so you guys can see this. Element is uploaded. You can see that it's here. So now if the background is a different color, for example, you know, you change the color of your shirt, it looks absolutely brilliant, right? And you can see now that it's got everything but the hockey sticks that I think I want to keep black in this case. So now this is upload ready for Amazon, but you can also now create your own mockups if you wanted to use it in, for example, Etsy. So we'll just come down here, make the background transparent here. And then as long as you have the artboard selected here, you can just come over here and click mockup. And we've got the mockup selected here. How sweet is this? So you can now pick the mockup color. We want to do a black or maybe, you know, some kind of dark heather. Pretty cool. Let's just stick with black for now. You can bring this up and you can see how it kind of, if I zoom in here, you can see the distressing or the folds in it behind this bin right here. So the nice thing about this is that these are smart mock-ups too. You can see, pay attention to the HOA here. It's going to warp as we go over this stuff because that's what a smart mock-up is. So if you're going to sell on Etsy, for example, you can just create your mock-ups right in here. And this actually looks like a comfort colors, which is cool. If we were to go for the lady's body here, I'll show you exactly how the smart mock-up works. Create the mock-up color of, again, this dark. And now we were to bring this up. You can see how it's warping with her body, right? See how it goes across the sleeve here. Super awesome because now we can just kind of click and drag and see how it shapes to her body. It's absolutely brilliant. This is great. And these mock-ups look so much better than your standard, you know, the traditional blank ones that come with most PODs. But that now is going to be ready to add to your Etsy listing, right? All you have to do is come here and click on Save to Uploads, or you can click here and click on Download. So again, we've got the mock-up here just like that. Done. We didn't even have to leave Kittl. And now we can go into Printify and create our product from there because these are going to fly off the shelves on Etsy. So let's see. Hoarding hockey sticks. Let's say shirt. So out of 794 results, we have absolutely 0. Now let's go over to Amazon merch or Amazon proper. Never underestimate an old man with a hockey stick. Literally none, right? There's no hoarding hockey stick shirt. None. 0 results. And we've got a killer design that I think is going to fly off the shelves on Amazon. So I will list it there, but I will also come into Printify. I will come into my catalog here. We'll go to t-shirts. So you could definitely pick whatever shirt you want here. I am partial to the Gildan 64000 because that's what I know my customers that I design for prefer, but we can definitely go with probably the most popular shirt here, which is the comfort colors, right? All you have to do, come down here, choose manually. I like to sort by production time. And for those of you who are new to the Printify Etsy bit, you can just come down here, pick your provider. I sort by production time just because I want it out the door the fastest, but anything above an 8.5 here is pretty solid. You know, their quality, production speed, and samples and shipping are through the roof here. Production speed is amazing. If you process an order that comes in on Etsy today, it'll be shipped tomorrow. You can't really beat that. If you look at the provider info here, the pepper, for example, which is super popular. Without Printify Premium, you're looking at $12.19. With Printify Premium, you're saving $1.50 or so. And the shipping here is $4.75 a pop. So arguably speaking, you know, 15, 16 in cost out the door. On Etsy, you can sell these for $30 to $35 plus a $5 or $6 shipping all day because people pay for the Comfort Color brand. You can make a mint here. So for the difference of price here, you definitely do not want to be missing out on, you know, close to $2 here. With the Gildan 64000, it's more like $3. So you definitely don't want to be missing out on that much money per sale, right? So if you did want to try Printify Premium, you can definitely use my code down below for a free 30-day trial of this. So I'm just going to click Start Designing now. And then we can take our design and literally drag and drop it on here. I'll just pick my colors while that's loading. Select variants so we can see what we're looking at. We'll go with pepper, for example, in this case, and black. Yeah, even graphite looks good, but pepper is probably the popular one here. I'm going to deselect white because we don't want to have a white on white, right? It wouldn't show. I'm just going to move this up. I actually like to come down here and click on this guy so we can move it right to the top without getting out of whack. And then I always center it just for good measure to make sure we're in there. And now you can look at the preview here to see what our mock-ups are going to look like. So it looks pretty sweet there. You can see it on a person. You can see how it's kind of wrapping around her body. You can see how it looks here. But we can also use our super sweet mock-up that we made right in Kittl, right? So either way, you've got all your bases covered here. It's pretty much idiot-proof, to be honest. So it's hard to beat. And just come down here to save product. Save selection, and you're going to want to, you know, rename it to whatever makes sense for the listing title. So again, you can come over to erank and check out what the title was, or you can come over to this, for example, and use this, but change it to hockey sticks, really, right? That's the only thing you really have to change here. You haven't copied anybody's design. You've created something that's brand new. It's not even out there. This is exactly the kind of thing that will sell. Title it how you would, fill out the meat and potatoes down here, and you can either save as draft or publish. For me, I'll just put it as, I'll just call it H for hockey dash 001 because it's the first of the hockey series that I might explore now. And this is all how I list mine and save my artwork. So the artwork would also be titled that. And then I will say CC1717, and then I will put USA because we picked Monster Digital. That way every time an order comes in, I know exactly what piece of artwork to use and which mock-up this is right now. And I would just click Save as Draft here. So now it's in here. Anytime an order comes in, I can just pick this one and attach it to it. And I've got all the sizes in the 3 colors that I think look best. So those are the only colors I would offer in my Etsy listing in this case. And that would be it. On the Amazon side now, this is exactly what I do here. The only products I list on are the standard, the tank top, the long sleeve, the sweatshirt, and the pullover hoodie. I let Amazon push it to wherever they want. I don't spam the platform. I don't do any of that. I would just click continue if you haven't already, but that's kind of the default for me. And then you just kind of drag and drop your artwork here right onto the artboard here. It'll apply it onto all of our elements here. In this case, I will come down here, move this up to the top, and I'll just click center in case I screwed around with it. Definitely gonna unclick the baby blue here. I would probably just select all darks and see what looks good. I don't want to offer this because decision fatigue is a real thing. We want to offer the premium colors that people want, which in my case are the black, dark heather, navy, military green, and you know what, the heather blue. So those, where is it? It's supposed to be only 5. Yeah, there we go. So black, dark heather, heather blue, navy, and military green or olive green. You could add the blues in there, the reds, depending on potentially if you want to name a city and put the hockey in there. So that way, you know, whatever color it is. So like Toronto Maple Leafs, you might put Toronto hockey and then, you know, select the royal blue, or red if you're a Panther fan or something to that effect. But you definitely do not want to use, you know, Florida Panthers or Toronto Maple Leafs, right? This isn't legal advice or anything, but definitely check your trademarks before you upload anything. In this case, I'm going to leave it to my most popular colors. We'll just come down here and title it as we found in erank there, that first section. Or again, you could literally just copy this title, paste it in here, and make it hockey centric. For the brand here, I would do something to the effect of Hockey Life shirts or something like that. So we're talking about the niche now, and we're talking about to what the product is, because they're all on some kind of shirt or sweatshirt. What you don't want to do is list your brand title to be more of like a design title. You don't want to have Hoarding Hockey Shirt and then have a completely new brand for every single shirt you design. That is a way to fast track your design into stagnancy. It's a guaranteed way to make your stuff stop selling fast, and it's a guaranteed way to limit your sales because people will click on your brand because they want more of the same. So let's say you've got this awesome design now, right? But they want a goalie stick one. We just created a goalie stick one. You know what? They wouldn't have found it if they weren't able to click on your brand and you didn't have it listed in there, right? So that's what I'm talking about, right? Make it easy for your customers to find your stuff. They'll go in there, they'll buy the hockey stick one. Maybe mom is shopping for her kids at Christmas. Super funny. She got 2 or 3 hockey players in the house. One's dad, one's a son, and one's a daughter who happens to be a goalie. She's got a gift for every single one of them, one-stop shop, and that is exactly it, right? Feature bullet 1 would be something to the effect of the design. This is the perfect item for your favorite hockey player for their birthday or Christmas. Feature bullet 2 for me, I always just take the design title, copy it in here, and then I would just click on copy bullets to description down here. And the blue stuff, if you're wondering what that is this little, it's this Chrome extension called Snap for Merch on Demand. It's been developed and created by a dude called Nemo. And Nemo, if you're watching this, please add in the ability to filter or count how many Amazon's Choice badges you have, right? Pretty sweet if I would be able to do that, right? So that's all there is to it. Like I said, the bulk of all of this is in the research and the design. The SEO is secondary. Very simply, part of what you were using is in the design. The other part is the major keywords: hockey shirt for dad, funny hoarding hockey shirt, those kinds of things, right? Very simple. On Amazon, you're definitely going to want to run some ads behind it probably. If you really want to jumpstart your sales, you could always set your price really low, buy one and have it shipped to whoever you want, or buy it for yourself and then jack up the price. But please do not price your items low. That is not how you make money. Obviously, Amazon's already putting everything on sale if you do get, an Amazon's Choice badge, so you never want to make $0, right? But that's it. That's my exact process of how I've got to almost $450,000 in royalties, 2+ million sold. All you have to do now is get familiar with the design tools. And the best way to do that if you're not a designer is to join my Inner Circle membership. So make sure you get on that wait list if you're into that at all. Otherwise, you're going to be relying on AI and you're never going to be able to learn how to tweak and make things better because AI alone won't do it. You still need to know what makes a good design. If you're interested in trying any of these tools, I'll leave links down below. I've got all kinds of discounts for all of them. You get free trials for all the premium stuff. But let me know your thoughts on this design, what you think, how you think the process goes. For me, it's not about repeating what's already selling. It's creating something that doesn't exist in the marketplace. Love you guys. See you in the next one.